Smiley from the Energy Boutique with your energy and ascension forecast for Sunday, August 6th to Saturday, August 12th. So last week we jumped into August and we kicked it off with a pretty big bang because we had a full moon in Aquarius on the very first day of August. So we entered into a new month with new energy, with a new life lesson for us to learn, a new vibration for us to align with. And then the full moon illuminated for us in the Aquarian energy where the breakdown is leading to the breakthrough, where new information and details is showing us where we have to kind of abandon the old in order to adopt new methods, new ways of doing things, new innovative solutions to some very, very tough problems that we have been illuminated to over this last month, dating back to the full moon in Capricorn. That, of course, highlighted power struggles, highlighted control issues, highlighted where we are stuck in our lives and we're honestly tired of banging our heads against a wall. So that full moon Aquarius definitely set the tone for what was a very heavy emotional week, mostly due to the fact that we came out of that full moon in Aquarius, followed by multiple moon days. Even more than that, once the moon shifted into Pisces energy and we had those moon days in Pisces energy, all of the feels became so overwhelming that it put many of us in a state of paralysis. Again, the moon in Pisces ends and closes the door on the last emotional lunar cycle. Why people are still surprised that they have the toughest, most depressive days when the moon is in Pisces is still beyond me. I try really, really hard to drive home being aware of the cyclic nature of the moon. That's why it's so important to understand moon cycles, the energy of the moon, the peak of the moon, the fall of the moon, how it applies to your life. You should have expected a very low and slow emotional week, a week of emotional refinement, a week of emotional illumination, due to that full moon in Aquarius zapping us, scrambling our brains, sucking the life force energy out of us, depleting us of the energy so that we would lay down, that we would slow our roll, slow the physical body down long enough in order for the downloads that we've already received to be activated. We needed those activations in order to trigger some of the emotions that crept up for our awareness while the moon was in Pisces throughout those days that we had moon days. Emotional moon days, guys. Okay, so the full moon in Aquarius led into this profound changing week. Now, did anything change in your physical life? Probably not. Did lots change in your headspace? For sure. Can you articulate it? Not a chance. A lot has changed in your emotional realm, yes? Many, many people going through profound emotional changes. Would you be able to talk about it? Put it into words? Tell somebody if they asked you what has changed for you? Absolutely not. You could not articulate it. Why? Because this is going on with your energetic soul self body. It has not percolated enough in your physical body to infiltrate the mental plane where your egoic intellect can apply logic and practicality and actually put it into words in order for you to articulate it and express it and communicate it to those that you want to share these profound epiphanies with, these profound changes with. So yes, we're in a state of confusion. Why is that? Well, because we're closing out a system, a cycle, a season. What am I talking about? Well, first of all, Venus is retrograde, guys. She's in her last week of the death, of the release, of the purge. She's going to be resurrected, reborn on the 13th. That has a major impact on us. I'm also going to talk about the fact that, yep, we're building towards the Lion's Gate. Even though the Lion's Gate doesn't exist, and even though 8/8 is not a magical day at all, and even though there is no actual portal that will kind of give us this intense shift in our emotions, we are building toward what the collective is focused on, which is the Lion's Gate portal on 8/8. The actual energy shift is when the sun conjuncts the dog star Sirius, which does not happen until about the 12th. So although many of us here in the collective are focused on 8/8 as this powerful change in vibration and frequency, I myself talk about the Lion's Gate as a pivot point of change because the general collective is giving it time, giving it energy, giving it attention. What the general collective is focused on gives it power. So whether the change, the timeline jump, the transformation happens for or to you on the 8th, or it actually is astrologically being triggered and activated on the 12th and 13th, that's up for debate. I don't care what it is that you believe in, as long as you believe in yourself. You have the ability to change the game any day of the month, any day of the week. You do not need these new age spiritual community people to tell you on a certain day that you are able to change your mindset, able to change your emotions, and therefore able to change your life. I don't need to tell you that. Nobody needs to tell you that. You can wake up, snap your fingers, make a change within yourself, and therefore see that change reverberate out in your physical realm any day that you choose. However, when the general collective is focused on one particular thing, it does create more of an energetic reactive response. We do have the ability, when we all focus our mind space on a specific outcome, to manifest it in an accelerated amount of time. That's why I continue to talk about the Lionsgate portal on 8/8 being this fascinating pivot point of change, because that's what you're hearing. That is what you're focused on. If you are a Patreon member or you've been with me for any amount of time, you would know that I go on this specific rant pretty much every year. The 8/8 Lionsgate portal is a new age concept. Very rarely does the actual alignment, the conjunction between the sun and the dog star, happen on 8/8. The only reason why it's called the Lionsgate portal is because we're in Leo season. Leo the lion, the star regularis, in the constellation that Leo the lion is. So there is a lot of misinformation as per usual. There's a lot of confusion as per usual. It doesn't matter what it is that you want to align with. The fact is that a lot of people are aligning with similar concepts that bring a huge amount of intense energy to the collective hive mind throughout the week of the 8th to the 13th. And that's what we're going to talk about now. So this week, of course, we have the Lionsgate portal that I just ranted about. It coincidentally happens around the exact same time as the last quarter moon in Taurus energy. And let me tell you, the last quarter moon in Taurus has far more energy, far more potency than the quote unquote 8/8 Lionsgate portal actually does. And again, that's just because the Lionsgate 8/8 portal has just become a coined phrase here in the New Age and spiritual community. That last quarter moon in Taurus energy, providing an ending, a closure, a completion point to what we have been illuminated to over this last lunar cycle. So of course we have to go back to the new moon in Cancer. We have to understand that the full moon in Capricorn illuminated where in our physical realms we were tired of banging our head against a wall, tired of the power struggle, tired of feeling like we weren't in control. Then we moved into the whole realm of just kind of understanding what needed to change in our physical lives, our physical realm. We needed to understand what it is that we needed to do in order to protect ourselves, to stabilize our physical realm, to protect ourselves, to nurture ourselves back to a place of safety, security, and stability. Here we are, we had the full moon in Aquarius illuminate for us where it is that we had to break away from these restrictions and constructs that got illuminated back with the full moon in Capricorn that led us to the new moon in Cancer, where we kind of initiated a new way of treating ourselves, new way of taking care of ourselves, new way of building our physical realm up in order to protect us, not so reliant on making sure that somebody is going to come save us from the realm and reality in which we've built. And now here we are in the last quarter moon in this Taurus energy for us to see what needs to 100% change in our physical realm, starting with our self-esteem, starting with our self-confidence, starting with our self-worth, because that is where everything that our physical realm has been built up out of has stemmed from, is the way we treat ourselves, the way we talk about ourselves, the way that we nurture ourselves, the way that we feel about ourselves. Essentially, the relationship with self is the foundation in which we've built every aspect of our physical realms, especially where our relationships are concerned. So this last quarter moon, again, probably going to be the major energy event that everybody's going to say, oh, look at the Schumann Resonance, the Lionsgate portal, the solar flares are popping off, look at the stream of light, look at the intensity of the Lionsgate 8-8 portal, when realistically it's the moon in Taurus. Okay, so let's just keep that clear in our mind space, that there is a lot of delusion being kind of passed around in this new age and spiritual community. The biggest thing that we got going on that you'll hear me talking about pretty much in every single daily energy forecast is Venus's retrograde. This is her last week of her death, of her beatdown, of her smackdown, of her, let's just say, victimhood mentality, whine and cry fest. Why do I say that? Well, because the 13th is when she's reborn and resurrected. That's when she conjuncts the sun. That's when she kicks off her 584-day cycle. That's when she closes out the last 8-year cycle and we open up the door to the new one. That is when the final petal of the 5-petal flower of life gets basically closed, gets completed in the orbit in which she takes in the sky with her retrograde cycles. This is a whole thing. If you're interested, please jump over to my Patreon. I have a whole astro class about it. It is definitely interesting to understand the different levels of feminine divine energy that we're tapping into as she goes through her particular retrograde cycle. And the majority of the darkness that we are feeling, the majority of the confusion, the majority of the pressure that we are feeling right now, the confusion, the disconnect, the discord within us, the discontentment, the dissatisfaction of our lives, the delusion of who it is that we are. All of this is stemming from Venus. This is going to be the last week of us doing a deep dive in the shadow realm of the dark feminine energy that she is currently sitting in before we're all brought to life in a brand new way where we emerge as the brand new, more authentic, more real, more raw versions of ourselves. And with that, we are bringing some changes. And a lot of those changes are going to have a major impact on our physical realm, especially where relationships are concerned, where our values, where our priorities are concerned. It does not feel good to die. It does not feel good to go through a certain death, nor does it feel good to give birth or to be born. And this is where we're at. We're in the last week. We're in the last push, if you will, of trying to get this baby out of this birth canal and into this world. Okay, that's where we're at. So yes, we're low on energy, we're low on willpower. We're going to talk about that here in a second, but just understand that the funk that many of us are sitting in right now is due to Venus's retrograde. And we are about to kind of, let's say, wrap up the darkest part of her journey here this week. Okay, before I jump into more rants and more Ascension symptoms, let's talk about a couple of things on my homework list. First of all, I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for liking, for sharing, for commenting, for dropping emojis in the comment section, because all of that helps the algorithm. Why is that important? Because the messages that we talk about in these forecasts need to be heard by the people that are going through it that may not understand what it is that they're actually going through. The awakening process, the healing journey is no joke, as you know, and therefore we all need to do our part through liking, sharing, commenting in order to push this information in front of the people that are looking and needing the information to understand the process that they're currently going through. So I want to thank you to all of you that are here, that chime in, that don't chime in, even though I know there are plenty of you that would prefer to kind of, listen in from behind the curtain. An emoji makes the world of difference. So I want to thank you so much for those of you that take the time, that use your energy in order to leave your mark here on my channel. Because again, not only does that help me, but it helps other people that may not have access to this channel or even know about it as of yet. I want to thank you for those of you that have already gone ahead and downloaded your August zodiac forecast. I'm very, very encouraged by the amount of people that are taking their own lives into their hands, their own manifesting abilities into their own hands. downloading those zodiac forecasts, understanding where these energies are taking place in your chart puts you in a sense of power, in a sense of control. And I am super happy to see, especially August being, the heart activation month, that people are returning back to themselves, that they want to do the work, that they want to align with their higher selves, that they want to stay ahead of the game, that they want to dig themselves out of this dark pit. So I thank you so much to those of you who have downloaded your zodiac forecast already. For those of you who haven't, you can find them one by one on my website, or you can jump over to Patreon and access all 12. Again, the Leo season e-guide is still available for download at the 50% off. We still have some pretty major aspects to cover in that particular e-guide. Of course, I am working on the Virgo season e-guide, because we will be jumping into Virgo season here on the 23rd. But Leo season is still alive and well. We still have a lot of heart activations, a lot of heart alignments that need to happen before we jump into Virgo season. And that Leo e-guide should help kind of assist you in really identifying where it is that you need to have your time, your energy, your attention focused on your heart space, on making the changes that your higher self needs you to make. And of course, preparing for this new path, this new direction, this new journey in moving forward. I also want to just let you know, thank you to those of you that were definitely on the ball, that snagged yourself an appointment when I launched my booking calendar for August. I did kind of see all of those appointments be filled up within the first 24 to 48 hours of launching my calendar. So I did go ahead. I added a few more, not very many, but a few more different appointments available for August. So if you're interested in booking a reading session with me, working with me in any kind of capacity, I would definitely encourage you to jump over to my website, book yourself a session. There is a lot going on in August. And anytime that we're at the pivotal point of change and transformation where everybody is hella confused and feeling down and depressed and just don't know left from right or up from down, that's usually when people reach out for reading sessions, for just connecting to see what kind of season and cycle they're experiencing in their chart. And I usually limit how many spots that I put out for the month, because honestly, I get exhausted if I book too many. But to see all those spots kind of disappear within a 24-hour period made me a little bit sad to know that there were a lot of people that weren't even going to have the opportunity to book a session to gain some insight and guidance. And so I did add a couple of more spots should you be interested. Okay, that's kind of the homework that I want to cover. Let's jump into the Ascension symptoms that we can kind of expect for this week. Now, the first thing that I have on my list is to go on a Lionsgate rant. Well, I think I did that, and I think I do it every year, and I think I'll probably do it again next year. And let me just clarify by saying that very rarely do we ever have the sun conjuncting the Sirius star on 8/8. And let me also just clarify that the Lionsgate portal got deemed a portal because we're moving through Leo season. We're moving through the constellation of Leo. The sun is in his dominant rulership in Leo season. So I do understand that this would be a very important time, important season, important cycle. However, the Lionsgate portal itself is just a label, and 8/8 is no more significant than any other day. And again, may I remind you that the build up this week is going to be towards the 12th and the 13th, when we can expect major shifting in energies and major shifting in ourselves as well, being reborn and resurrected as Venus is reborn and resurrected as well. So that is my Lionsgate rant. We're going to cross that right off the list. Now, yes, we're in a dark phase. Yes, we're about to end and close a cycle, which means that we're all in a funk. Where are we feeling this funk? Well, many of us are having shoulder pain. Why is that? Because we're bearing the weight of the world on our shoulders. It's very important to kind of figure out what shoulder is bothering you more than the other, because that is very indicative of the weight in which you're carrying and where that actually stems from. And you have to identify the problem in order for you to fix it. The shoulders are great indications on the energetic pressure of the roles and responsibilities, the commitments, the obligations that we feel that we have to fulfill here in this ego realm. It is also an energetic weight that we are carrying because we are essentially putting a death and ending a closure to who it is that we've been. We have aligned with those roles and responsibilities, those obligations and commitments in the past when we were versions of ourselves that we are no longer. So the weight of the world is being amplified on our shoulder space in order for us to sort out what needs to stay, what needs to go. It's very easy to figure out. If you are thinking of a certain task, a certain chore, a certain role, a certain responsibility, and you just sigh because it just sucks the freaking life force energy out of you, that's a good indication that, hey, you've probably outgrown it. And if you haven't outgrown it, maybe you need to change it so that it's not so heavy and weighted. If it's something that you have to continue doing, then you should probably flip the script on it and make it a little bit easier to deal with so that you're not carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. Maybe you're having shoulder blade pain, or maybe the pain is in between your shoulder blades. Well, if it's taking place in the mid portion of your back, then we're talking about a lot of unresolved, unhealed, past pain, past trauma. Yes, the weight of the world could be contributing to this particular ache and pain, but it's also a heart activation. When we have a heart activation, tension, conflict kind of in the chest region, it can radiate to your back. It can radiate to the back when you're dealing with some past issues. If you were feeling your heart activations in your chest, in the front, that is anxiety and anticipation for futuristic events. If you have it in your back, this is an indicator that past issues, topics, themes need to be confronted in order for them to be resolved. If you are having the pain in your lower back, this is an indicator that you're not feeling so safe, secure, so stable in your physical realm. That's your survival energy. The lower back is where we feel or recognize where we don't feel safe, secure, stable, and most importantly, supported in our physical realms. That is the lowest chakra you can really kind of look at. That's the root chakra. The root chakra connects us to the earth realm. The earth realm connects us to our meat suits. The meat suits connects us to our ego. The ego connects us to the expression of our soul and spirit that we have come to this earth plane in order to truly leave our mark on this world. How do we do that? We emit a vibration and a frequency. How do we do that? We align with a vibration and a frequency that stems from an emotion. How do we know what emotion we're stemming from? Well, how sad are you? How depressed are you? How angered are you? If you're dealing with those lower, not so nice thoughts and feelings, not so nice memories, that is a lot of the heavier emotions that vibrate at the lower frequencies, the lower vibrations that, of course, are attracting some not so nice topics and themes to you. Now, is it yours? That's what you need to ask yourself, because many light workers are walking the face of the earth right now who have done their own work, who have healed their own pain and trauma, that are still sitting in the lower levels of the emotions, the vibrations, the frequencies that, of course, the not so nice emotions have us in. Why is that? Well, because most light workers on the earth right now are alchemists. We're here to transmute the collective energy into something better, especially for those that aren't activated, aren't awakened. We still have the responsibility of basically breaking those trauma and pain templates that keep the generational trauma alive, that keep the pain, the darkness, the shadow realm alive here on this earth plane. So if you are walking around feeling the weight of the world on your shoulders, feeling the pain in your back, feeling the lower extremities just exude pain and trauma and discomfort to you, and this isn't yours to own, then thank you very much for the service in which you're lending humanity by taking on those heavier emotions, that heavier emotional template, and learning to lighten the vibe. How do you do that? You work through it. How do you work through it? You process it. How do you do that? You take a good look in your psyche, in your heart space. You identify whether or not it belongs to you, and if it doesn't and it's the collectives, then we have to take a good look on how we can return love and acceptance, peace, unification, harmony back to the collective by taking the crap, by processing it, lightening the load, lightening the vibe, and sending it back to humanity. It's all light. What is light? Light is information. What is information? It is basically an awareness. It is the perspective, the understanding that you have when you go through the spiritual development stages that you have to go through in order to be on your healing journey. You're able to look at things from a different set of eyes because you have the wisdom and the knowledge and the resources in order to see things from this set of eyes. And again, if you're a light worker and you're carrying the load of the collective, then you have already gone through this process in dealing with your own life, your own emotional baggage, your own pain and trauma. So if you've already kind of established how you work through these particular topics and themes for your own healing, then it only makes sense that this particular heavier load of energy and emotion gets put on you from the collective, because you have the ability to turn it into something lighter, something more informative, something more enlightened, if you will. And then we send it back to the collective. This is how we raise the vibration. This is how we raise the frequency. This is how we kind of elevate the level of the collective's consciousness. So let's talk about random choking. I don't know if you're choking on your words, choking on your spit, choking on just air or food, but we have this, like, every now and then we get this outburst of choking. Now, a lot of this could be at the fact that many of us are having a hard time swallowing the reality in which we're living in. So of course we're going to choke on that pill. Many of us are experiencing a realignment with our breath, with our prana, with our mana, with our chi, with our whatever you want to call it. It's life force energy. That's why we talked a couple weeks ago about how important breath work was, because literally, if you want to boil it down, the only thing that you actually have control of is your breath. So you may as well control the amount of energetic life force energies that you're bringing into your body. The choking is because we're going through this recalibration, this realignment, if you will. We are suffocating under the weight of the version of ourselves that we've had to be in the past. We're suffocating and drowning under the weight of the roles and responsibilities that old version of self got ourselves into. We are suffocating and drowning under the weight of the realm and the reality in which our ego self is created. And now that we've done the work, we've elevated to a certain point of awareness and enlightenment within ourselves, we're recognizing that we're no longer that person, no longer that version, no longer in alignment with some of the things that we brought to life in that particular area of our lives, of the chapter, of the season, of the cycle that we're in. And now this is why we are quote unquote depressed. I say quote unquote depressed because depression isn't really anything other than having to sit in the lower realm of emotions and of your mental plane in order to understand the weight of the world that you are carrying. We have a choice every single day to unload that emotional baggage. But sometimes we need to be quote unquote depressed, feel that heaviness, feel that weight, feel that confusion within ourselves in order to understand that an ego death is needed. So anytime that you are feeling bouts of depression, it is indicative that the version of yourself that you've had to be in the past is no longer alive and well. That there needs to be a certain closure to that version of self in order for you to reemerge as the newer version of self. And therefore, in this newest version of yourself, you need to kind of rearrange and reorganize your physical realm to mirror the energy, the vibration, the enlightenment, the awareness that you now find yourself in. And that can be a very scary situation for a lot of people because it requires a lot of accountability, a lot of responsibility, a lot of change, and a lot of transformation. We are collectively going through this quote unquote depression because Venus is in her darkest part of her journey. She's in the last days of her old self. She's in the last days of her depression. She will be resurrected, renewed, rebirthed into the world on the 13th, which means that the newest version of ourselves will merge at that particular time as well. So the random choking is kind of on the same idea as us not being able to truly swallow the details of the lives in which our old self has created. We're drowning under the emotion of living inauthentically because the highest version of ourselves are asking for us to rearrange our physical realms in such a way that will mirror back the level of awareness, of enlightenment, of healing that we've actually reached within our soul selves that our external selves has yet to actually portray out into the world. This is also the choking on the spit or air or whatever is creating a little bit of a coughing fit that somehow alleviates a chunk of phlegm that we didn't know that we had in us. That phlegm is an energy blockage. That phlegm comes from the lungs. The lungs are our air capacity for our prana, for our chi, for our life force energy. That phlegm is a piece of congestion that is essentially blocking our airways, preventing us from bringing in the life force energy that we currently need in order to resurrect ourselves. A lot of the phlegm is coming from the sinus congestion that we're having because our third eye is open. Yes, it's been open, but it's reaching new levels of awareness, of enlightenment due to the collective consciousness reaching new levels that we're anchoring in that we can't go back to the old. Because the collective consciousness is reaching new levels of vibration and frequency, our own individual third eyes have to adapt to the light spectrum that we're now able to perceive in our physical and biological bodies, which is having a major impact on our vision. We talked about this the last couple of weeks and the Ascension symptoms that our vision has been weird and funny. It's been blurry. There's been crusties in our eyes. We've been having a lazy eye. We've been having a hard time focusing. All of these issues are due to the fact that we're looking at a realm in reality that we do not want. We're not in alignment with it. We're tired of seeing the same old, same old. We're having a hard time digesting what it is that we're currently watching. We will continue to have the eye issues, not only due to the third eye elevating and creating some sinus congestion that, of course, is trickling down the back of our throats and creating this coughing fit, this choking of the spit, this choking of the air, this phlegm removal, but it is also putting us in a situation where we're going to have continuous changes to the eyes, to our vision throughout this week as we sit in the darkest point of Venus's retrograde. I want you to think about this for a second. You know, when, let's say it's nighttime, you're shutting off all the lights and you finally hit that last little bit of illumination and you finally find yourself in the darkness. It takes some time for your eyes to adjust, but if you give yourself the time, you're able to actually see your environment from a different set of eyes that can perceive where it is that you need to be moving around certain objects in order to actually navigate your non-vision, let's say. Let's also say that you get so used to this darkness that when somebody opens up the blinds and the sun comes streaming in, that you feel like a vampire and you're ready to die. Your eyes get all squishy, you can't perceive the light, you feel like your head is going to explode. That is kind of the energy that we're in this week because we are at the darkest depths of the pit in which we've been in. Again, Venus being in the final days of her death, of her destruction, and she is about to climb her ass out of this dark pit. When the sun comes up, conjuncts her, okay? So the sun is basically shining a bright light, finally aligning with this dark pit that Venus has found herself in. It proves not only to be the light that lights the way for her to climb her ass out of the pit, but it also shines a bright light on her, downloading her with the light codes that she needs in order to empower herself to get her ass out of that dark pit and to start fresh when she reaches the surface of the land in which she's been living under, in the underworld. She crawls herself out of this deep, dark mass grave, and she illuminates to herself where it is that she herself has a new lease on life because she didn't know that she was ever going to get out of that dark pit. This is the way that we are feeling. She activates our heart space. This is why our heart activations have been so intense. We are going through a change of heart. We are going through a very pivotal point of change this week, and we will emerge as our brand new selves when she climbs out of the dark pit that she has been in. So all of this pressure, all of this congestion, all of this choking, all of this restriction in our, let's say, headspace is creating this waterlogged sensation in our ears. Now, from what I have been picking up on, it's only one ear. It's not really both ears. So if you're having a sensation where both ears feels like there's water in them, or they're waterlogged, or they're muffled, or whatever the case may be, then I want you to drop a line in the comments, because I'd be very interested to know how many people are experiencing both ears, because this technically should only be a one ear sensation. Why is that? Because it's either the right side that is worried about our survival as far as our ego goes, or it is the left side that is worried about our higher selves, our soul self, our emotional selves go. The change and transformation that you are, I'm going to say, most resistant to will illuminate the side of your body that is going to indicate what it is that you're hesitant to change the most. So if it's right side, you're talking about the physical realm. If it's left side, you're talking about the inner realm, change of heart, change of mind, change of perception, change of understanding. So it's very, very interesting to kind of pay attention to where these particular symptoms are manifesting on what side of your body. So this waterlogged ear sensation is coming in the form of the fact that we're not receiving downloads as much as we are trying to activate the ones that we've already received. Now, of course, anytime that there's a solar flare, anytime there's a major astrology event, of course, there's a shift in the electromagnetic frequencies that, come into Earth that activate the part of our DNA that we're trying to awaken in order to remember who it is that we are, where it is that we've been, where it is that we're coming from, what it is that our mission is, what our truth is, what our purpose is. That's the whole point of the solar codes. But at this particular point, the waterlogged feeling, that sensation, is the fact that there's a part of us that has essentially closed the door on receiving any more information until we can sort through, process, trigger, activate the information that we've already received. It's almost like a data packet. I want to kind of give you this analogy. So your computer says, hey, it's time for a software update. You're like, cool, we hit the button. We're doing it, right? We're watching the whole little bar, the progress bar. Okay, so we're receiving the information, the data packets on what needs to change in our operating system. First, we receive that information. Then you'll kind of see the window change where it's installing those particular downloads. That is what I mean. Right now, we are looking to activate and install this new operating system. You can have the software downloaded to your computer, but you could pause that and not actually integrate it into your operating system. That's what I'm talking about. We have these solar codes in us. We have these data packets of information. We have the opportunity to activate them, to integrate them, to upgrade our operating system, which essentially is our higher self, or we could just install it and pause it, not integrate it. What happens though? Our computer starts acting up, starts lagging, starts breaking down. We're losing programs, we're losing memories. You might get that black screen. That happens in your physical body if you're not in alignment with receiving the energy activations that you're meant to be integrating. The ear waterlogged clogginess, I think, is let's say, a indicator to our higher selves, to the cosmos, that we can't take on a new operating system right now. We haven't processed the old operating system yet. We have the information, we have the data packets available, but we're not going to actually install them as of yet. Most of the reason of why is because many of us are fighting our egos. Our egos right now want something for us that our higher self knows that we have no business wanting and getting ourselves involved in. A lot of this is because of the unconscious programming that we naturally default to when we're kind of being presented with a change, with a leap, with a timeline jump opportunity. Many of us unconsciously, unknowingly revert back to wanting old goals, old wants, needs, and desires that our ego wants for us, when our higher self is like, damn, you're trying to uninstall the last two operating systems that we just got in the habit of using. Everything was going so smoothly, and then all of a sudden you decide you want to uninstall these software updates and go back to what it is that you've been doing 5 years ago. That is the natural defense mechanism of the ego self, is to revert back, to settle into some of the things that you desperately fought your way out of. It is the natural default programming to go back to what is tried, tested, and true, what is maybe uncomfortable, but what is familiar and predictable. Any time that we are on the cusp of jumping into new territory, into new foreign land, our ego selves try their damnedest to pull us back into a programming that has us devolving. So we're not moving up, we're not ascending, we're descending, and we're de-evolving. That's never fun. We don't want to go back to particular points in time that we busted our ass to move really far away from. So don't let your ego self put you in a state of settlement or paralysis in moving forward just because you're uncertain on what that forward movement actually would look like. So yes, we're feeling low, we're feeling blue, we're feeling quote unquote depressed, we're feeling confused. That is all supposed to happen. If you're feeling all of those things, then congratulations, you're aligned. You're exactly where it is that you need to be. You're a part of this collective ascension process, and you have nothing to worry about. This energy will shift. This energy will change, likely by the end of this week. It is going to come into accelerated activation form, so things are going to feel like, the universe hit the fast forward button. And, we could really use that, especially in rectifying, repairing, reconciling some of the situations that we've been banging our head against a wall about, so that we can get the party started on moving forward when some of these planets start going direct and release the hold that they have on us from looking back, really reflecting and processing how it is that we've gotten here, what it is that we would like to have done differently, because all of this information, all of this criticism, all of this judgment that Mercury and Virgo has us doing right now is helping us to piece together what worked for us in the past, what is no longer working for us in the now, and what we could do to have things work moving forward into the future. We talked about the lower back pain, but I want to talk about the effects that the lower back pain, the root chakra, the blockage in that root chakra actually creates, which most of the time is not only sciatica, not only, rigidity in the lower extremities, but also has a major impact on your bowel and bladder habits. So whether maybe you are holding on to things and definitely creating a situation where constipation is a thing and where you have to kind of let loose, let go, and let things kind of be a little bit more fluid, that is all an energetic response. Many times when we come to the ending of a cycle, there is this want, need, and desire to hold on to the old for dear life. And we find that in our biological system by holding on to the crap. Literally. We hold on to the crap. And what does that do? Well, it backs us up, makes us feel gross. It also allows an opportunity for the toxicity to just kind of, leach through our system, which doesn't feel good either. And it would be highly, highly advisable at this time to do what you need to do, emotionally speaking, in order to process what it is that you're holding on to so that you could let the crap go. Literally let it go. Now the bladder is having a little bit more frequency. It is filling up quicker. Hopefully you're keeping the water to you. We are in a fire season, so we are on the verge of dehydration most of the time. We want to keep those fluids up. We want to keep them topped up. We want to keep you hydrated, but that also means frequent bathroom trips in order to alleviate that bladder pressure. When you do the work on your root chakra, you will see the, I'm going to say, response to that energy work be kind of mirrored back to you on seeing your bowel and bladder habits change once again. I want to talk about your wrists. Okay, so last week we talked about, and this has been a common theme, but our palm chakras have been a hot topic as of late because we're trying to, bring those energy connections back into our ability to receive and project energies throughout our hands, through our fingers, through our palm chakras. So we've been having little minor incidents and hangnails and, jamming fingers in a door and, dropping things on our hands, just basic like hand injuries. Well, this week I want you to pay attention to your elbows and to your wrists most specifically. The wrists are having a very, very hard time trying to adjust to the energy channels that are opening up in our palm chakras. And it may feel like you don't have a grip on anything. Okay, so I mean, physically, you hold something, your wrists are weak, they're shaking, they're trembling because you don't feel like you have a strong enough grip. Well, energetically speaking, do you feel like you have a grip on your life? Do you feel like you're in power, in control? Likely not. Therefore, there is going to be a manifestation of your wrist pain or wrist weakness or, I'm going to say carpal tunnel syndrome, tennis elbow, like the aches, the pains, the growing pains in those particular areas of your body. And the reason being is because the grip that we're holding on to is to the old, okay? So here we are in the darkest days of Venus's retrograde. She's about to bust herself out of this dark pit that she's been sitting in. We have to understand that in order to free our hands up to dig ourselves out of this dark pit and start climbing these dirt walls in order to get out of this hole, we have to let go of the old. We have to let go of the grip that we've been having on trying to keep things old and alive and well. Again, many of us holding desperately onto things that we never, ever needed to be involved with in the first place, let alone try and keep alive at this particular point of change and transformation. So I want you to pay attention to your elbows, to your wrists. Keep in mind the shoulder weight that we're carrying on our shoulders. That is coming down the arms. It is getting stuck in the elbows, stuck in the wrists, stuck in our palm chakras, stuck in our fingers. We have to shake the energy out. You can clap, you can dance, you can do whatever you need to do to get the movement, the prana, the chi, the life force energies moving through the meridian channels of your body. It's a whole thing. It's a science. It's not foo-foo. So you have to do your part to get that energy moving. I want you to pay attention to your face. You will likely see your face, yourself, change in front of you in the mirror. First of all, we're going through a rebirth, a resurrection. So we are going to see our physicality change. Even more than that, want you to pay attention to sunspots, to moles, to different markings that may either appear or disappear, especially on your face, where your face is concerned. I want you to pay attention to where it is that your physical features are appearing in a different way, in a different light than they have previously. This is our newer version of our newer higher self, basically trying to, settle in to our physical form. There's an overlay. So when you're talking about your higher self, every single time we vibrate at a higher vibration and frequency, our higher self has to anchor in, integrate, overlay on the physical body. And every time we have this opportunity where there is a rebirth of self, our higher self overlays on our physical body and therefore changes the way that we look, changes the way that we see ourselves. Take a good look at your eyes. Your eyes will be changing this week. Yes, I know we talked about vision. That will be changing as well. But the visual, the aesthetics of how it is that you see yourself will be changing with Venus's retrograde, her resurrection, her rebirth. So pay attention to your physical form and what is changing. Pay attention to heartburn. This is another heart activation. Again, we're in the darkest days of Venus's retrograde. There's going to be a lot of heart activations, but I also think it's going to release a lot of heaviness, a lot of weight, and really put us in a better state of being, a better state of feeling, a better state of perceiving, of seeing, of understanding. I think it's going to be a positive change, but man, the heaviness, the weight that we experience, that breakdown before the breakthrough is very, very heavy to navigate. I want to talk about the sleepiness. Okay, so our sleep state obviously is not the best. Many of us just walking zombies at this point, not getting enough sleep, but yet when in bed, just can't wait to get out of bed because we're tired of trying to sleep. The astral realms are still kind of blocking us out for the most part. If anything, the dreamscapes that you're having are sorting through the subconscious material of your inner psyche that needs you to bring attention to some pain and trauma that you wouldn't have otherwise thought about or brought up or brought into your awareness in your waking state. The astral realms do not need our help at this particular point, so we're essentially kicked out, if you will. Many of us not knowing how to even function with the lack of sleep that we're having, but for some reason, we're doing pretty well. Again, our diets have changed, our sleep patterns are changed as we advance through the higher realms of vibration and frequency. When we embody our higher selves, we will need less and less of these particular, let's call it materialistic realm, human physical body requirements. We will not need as much of that. So although it can feel exhausting and completely disorienting, this is something that we will see multiple changes to before we kind of strike gold with the right kind of recipe, the right kind of schedule and routine that fits where it is that we're currently at on our journey. The last thing that I want to talk about, now I'm going to say, I don't think that this is from receiving downloads, because I don't think, again, that we have as much open space to receive new information as we have had in the past, because many of us are stalling we're stalling the install of those data packets of those previous downloads. But our hair hurting, okay? I mean, and especially for those of you that wear ponytails often, like you do get to a certain point where you have to let that ponytail out because your hair hurts. It's actually the hair that hurts. Let me just break it down to you this way. Your hair is your antenna, okay? So the way that you receive a lot of the information is through the hair particle itself. Yes, it's the crown. The crown is the top of the head. Yes, it's where you find hair is on the top of your head. But that is an antenna. That is your connection to the world around you. That is how you perceive the subtle light energies long before your ears, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your physical senses do. It's all through the hair. Well, we are going through a major change of vibration, of frequency. I just want to put it to you this way. We're essentially realizing that the radio tower that we've been connecting to and receiving full insights, full information and knowledge from, it's staticky. It means that we have to find a different station, a different radio station to lock into with a tower that is actually bringing in a better signal. That is our hair. We're changing where it is that we're bringing our information in from, because we've reached higher levels of intelligence only in our ego brain, and we've kind of reached the higher level of intelligence as far as our soul and our spirit goes, which means that we need a new radio tower. Our hair acts as the antenna. It brings the static electricity in. That's why, you see static in people's hair, because there's a lot of electricity. Well, we're at the point right now where we are kind of figuring out that we are no longer receiving the insights, the visions, the dreams, the intel that we've been used to. We kind of feel like we're being locked out of our intuition from connecting to our higher selves and the higher realm of intelligence, so that we can make the shift in aligning to a signal, to a vibration and frequency that is now a match to where it is that we find ourselves at in this particular healing journey. So when I say that this week you might have days, if not the whole week, where your hair hurts, where you're constantly rubbing your head and playing with your hair, and just kind of focused on where it is that your hair is kind of landing in the position on your head, on your scalp, on your crown, pay attention to the fact that your antenna is changing. We need to reorient to a new radio tower where we will receive new insights. And those insights are definitely going to come in full blast. So make sure that you have your volume dial kind of turned down a little bit, or else you're going to have quite a fright come the 12th, come the 13th, when we all adjust to the new radio towers that we need to be in alignment with to receive the new information, insights, dreams, and visions from the realm of intelligence that now we're a better match for because of the healing journey that we have been going through. So I hope that makes sense. That is all of the information that I have for you for this week. It is going to be a very, I'm going to say, testy type of week because, of course, we are in the darkest of days. I want you to be patient with yourself, with the people around you, with the process. I want you to understand the greater, grander picture, the life lesson that we're all going through right now. And I want you to give yourself a little bit of grace because there's nothing worse than feeling like you're kicked when you're down. And there's nothing worse than being the one that is kicking you while you are currently curled up in a ball in a fetal position in that dark pit that many of us find ourselves in at this point as we await Venus's resurrection. So with all of that being said, I hope that you just give yourself the same amount of kindness, the same amount of empathy, compassion, and grace that you would extend to your best friend, to your child, to anyone in the world that you care about. This is a life lesson in us being able to treat ourselves in the same way that we would treat other people. We have to be a little bit kinder. We have to exercise a little bit more compassion and grace when it comes to ourselves. We have to understand that loving ourselves is the answer, is the key to helping humanity. So guys, I want to thank you so much for tuning in, not only for yourself, but for me too. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate all of the love, all of the support, all of the time, the energy, the presence that you spend here with me, not only in the chat, but in the days to come with the replay. I want to thank you again for liking, sharing, commenting. I want to also encourage you to drop an emoji in the comments. Let's help get this information in front of those that are still struggling to understand what it is that they're dealing with and what it is that they are going through. We're all in this together. You're not alone. We have another doozy of a week ahead of us, but we know what it is that we're building to, and that rebirth, that resurrection is going to be the change that all of us have been waiting for. I'm sending you so much love. Have a great week. We'll talk to you soon.